Oke, welcome back guys, welcome back to our channel. Kembali lagi ke Indiscon bareng lagi bersama Kak Rohan sama Kak Pasca ya, dari founder dari BlogDB ya?
Bali Creative House.
Wes,
Iya,
mantap.
iya.
Masing-masing ini ya, founder BlogDB itu ya Kak?
Bisa dibilang gitu, but kita nggak sendiri.
Oh gitu?
Iya. BlogDB itu cuma kayak inisiatif dari kita sih. Sebenarnya Bali Creative House adalah the real company. BlogDB itu educational initiative dari Pasca, saya, Wisnu, Yusak, ada beberapa orang lagi gitu. Karena what happened was we were working in this blockchain company by Pandu, Blockchain Zoo, for quite a few years, and we learned a lot about blockchain, you know. Tapi ada banyak teman-teman kita yang penasaran kayak apa itu blockchain, apa itu Bitcoin, gimana caranya trading ini itu kan. So that's why in maybe tahun 2018 kayaknya we started BlogDB. BlogDB adalah block database or blockchain database.
Yes.
And the main vision or mission behind BlogDB is to educate people about blockchain technology, but more so educate people from Southeast Asia and the Asian region. Karena we realized that everyone on the Western side, they are already the first movers in blockchain, right? Yes. Tapi in Asia, a lot of our friends and a lot of people don't know what blockchain is. Like if you ask your friends, semuanya tahu apa itu Shiba Inu, tapi nggak tahu blockchain.
Yeah.
You know? And it's scary. It's very scary. So that's why we founded BlogDB as a part-time educational thing, wherein kalau kita ada free time, kita bisa bikin konten tentang blockchain untuk everyone, biar everyone can understand what blockchain is from our perspective. Because we have been working in the blockchain industry for the last many years, right? And so it has education, and then we have a friends and family investment fund. Kayak so Pasca contribute kayak $150, aku contribute 150, Yusak, dan semua teman-teman yang kayak masing-masing kumpul uang, and then kita investasi. So tapi not trading. Trading itu masih ada, trading itu biasa lah. Soalnya kan trading is the main thing. Tapi what we try to do is we try to research about projects, like let's say Cardano, right? We try to understand what Cardano is, like fundamental analysis gitu. And we create investment reports about projects that menurut kita 10 tahun lagi Cardano will become very big. And it's a valuable investment gitu. So we try to put our money that we collect together for 10 years. And then we experiment in mining, staking. So a lot of fun things that we friends do. And we want to help our other friends. So BlogDB is not like, kita nggak mau bikin kayak YouTube channel yang terkenal, yang ngomong tentang crypto gitu-gitu. Cuma kayak, oh ya, kamu teman aku punya website ini BlogDB. Kalau kamu mau belajar blockchain atau kalau kamu mau belajar sound investment or how to understand crypto projects, kamu bisa ke BlogDB.
Oh ya, ya benar sih. Jadi kayak gitu.
Like just like a contribution to the society from us, karena we have learned a lot about blockchain over the last so many years. So we want to give back to the society where we've learned everything from, which is Indonesia. So we want to give it back to everyone in Indonesia.
Iya sih, benar. Nah, kalau dari Kak Pasca sendiri gimana, Kak?
Ya, sama sih kayak Rohan, dan lebih dari itu kayak aku ngerasa teman-temanku kayak udah trading crypto, mereka udah punya punya akun Indodax Wallet, punya coinnya, tapi mereka sendiri nggak ngerti kayak what blockchain really is, like what's the technology and then fundamentalnya ini tuh. Mereka masih nggak ngerti. Jadi menurut aku itu nggak baik sih, karena awareness itu pertama penting, education. Karena kalau nggak gitu ntar mereka kayak mudah di scam atau mudah diragful gitu sama project-project yang ya menurut aku sih salahnya kayak itu harus dari dua sisi. Nggak bisa cuma ngandelin project-project ini harus pada benar, tapi kita juga harus ngedukasi diri sendiri kan. Jadi sebenarnya BlockDB ini menurut aku waktu Rohan ceritakan dia pengen bikin blockchain database ini, menurut aku kayak well, let's do it gitu. Karena it's really really important menurut aku.
Oh ya, jadi kayak gitu ya.
Itu BlockDB, tapi the main thing behind us is Bali Creative House, which
is different.
Ya, ngerti. Ya, kemarin udah diceritain juga sama Kak Pandu kayak gitu kan. Jadi bisa kenal sama Kak Pandu waktu itu gimana Kak? Dia kan kayak ada kerjasama kayak gitu kan katanya di Bio Network itu.
Iya, Pascal, kamu mau start or should I start? Soalnya storyku agak panjang.
Waktu juga tahu. Ya, siapa yang mau jawab gak apa-apa, terserah.
Agak panjang.
Kamu aja sih, Rohan.
So I think I have been learning tentang or trying to research about blockchain sejak 7-8 tahun now. It's been long. And waktu itu kan blockchain itu masih like very muda banget. Nggak like sekarang kan semuanya tahu apa itu. Hampir everyone knows what blockchain is. Ada banyak checks, DEX, smart contracts ini tuh. Tapi tahun 2015-an nggak ada banyak orang yang tahu tentang blockchain. And waktu itu I came across blockchain, and then I'll just tell everything very quick. And then I remember on LinkedIn, I used to go and approach everyone yang aku tahu yang in the blockchain industry. I used to message everyone that, aku pengen belajar blockchain. Can you help me? I'm ready to do free work for you. Anything that you want, gitu-gitu. Tapi nggak ada yang balas sama sekali. No one replied to me ever. And then my uncle pernah kerja sama Pandu in IBM, like long ago in Jakarta. And then my uncle once told me about Pandu, and I just randomly messaged Pandu on LinkedIn that, hey, I'm very interested in blockchain, and this is how it is. And Pandu was the only one that replied to my message. In kayaknya tahun 2016 or maybe tahun 2017, I guess. Tahun 2017, she replied to me, and she was like, okay, I'll set your interview up with the company, and why don't you come to Bali and work? So that was my beginning with Pandu, and that's where the whole thing started. Wherein she was the one who actually brought really introduced me into this industry from a working perspective. Soalnya sebelumnya I was just a nerd sitting in front of my laptop reading about blockchain and just that, like nggak pernah kerja in the industry or learn more about the industry. And then we were working in the same company together, and then eventually all of us spread, and we co-founded Bali Creative House, right? So after co-founding Bali Creative House, then we got in touch with Pandu again, and we were obviously in touch, and then we worked on a few projects together with her. So Pandu has been a real blessing, and has really helped us through from an education perspective, from a Bali Creative House perspective, from in so many ways. So that was my journey with Pandu.
Pascal? Mungkin Kak Pascal mau nambahin atau enggak?
Pretty much like that. Cuman bedanya kalau aku, like Rohan said, aku dulu kayak kita satu kantor, aku sama Rohan kan di blockchain Zoo itu.
Benar.
Dan dari situ aku juga belum pernah tatap muka langsung sama Pandu, tapi I heard a lot about her. Dan she seems great. And then finally setelah Bali Creative House, kita akhirnya kayak secara official kenalan gitu. Karena project meeting juga. Dan itu wow, she helps a lot. Dia juga kayak nggak cuman kayak not just as client, but she also kayak teach us how to be a businessman or something. So Yeah, she's a blessing like Rohan said.
Ya sampai ini ya terbentuk BlockDB dan Creative Dali House itu ya.
Ya itu long story sih kenapa ada Bali Creative House dan BlockDB. Kalau BlockDB tadi seperti dijelaskan kita sebelumnya.
Ya.
Kalau Bali Creative House itu ini kayak pertanyaan selanjutnya atau bisa?
Ya gak apa-apa, ini kan gak kaku gak, maksudnya ya sambil ngobrol aja ya.
Bali Creative House itu sebenarnya udah kayak agak lama sih, kayak idenya kita tuh kayak kita realize kalau di perusahaan sebelumnya kita ada kayak sama-sama teman kan, dan kita tuh nggak cuma kayak working mate gitu, tapi kita benar-benar love what we're doing and kita suka sama-sama explore. Jadi udah ada chemistry lah di sana antara bisa sebut nama itu Rohan, Wisnu, terus Gus Dharma, terus Agus, so many, and then Rico, Surya, mereka semua itu kayak kita beda-beda talent lah, kayak ada yang good di editing, ada yang good in researching, and ada yang good in business communication, ada yang good di filmmaking ini itu. Tapi intinya kayak ya itu karena kita udah punya chemistry aja, dan perusahaan sebelumnya itu kayak ada sedikit isu di mana akhirnya kita satu persatu keluar dan kita mau backup each other, gimana caranya biar kita bisa tetap saling bantu gitu, tapi tetap ngelakuin apa yang kita suka dan what we're good at, not just bagus, nggak cuma kayak suka doang, tapi kita tahu kayak we can do great things together. Jadi itu sih awal inisiatifnya Bali Creative House. Jadi kita langsung ya legalize PT Bali Creative House ini. Lalu kita juga kayak sama-sama, kebanyakan kita kayak tim yang sebelumnya kita sama-sama bareng-bareng gitu. Dan kita came across a lot of great clients also seperti Pandu gitu.
Jadi itu apa?
Short story-nya, aslinya panjang kali.
Oh, aslinya lebih panjang lagi ya. Kayak dua SKS mungkin ya. Nggak cukup ya. Iya. Terus ini apa? Berarti kan Kak Pandu itu kan debut network itu kan. Sekarang dia lagi berkecimpung di NFT. Berarti bisa dibilang Bali Creative House ini juga termasuk di berkecimpung di dunia seni ya?
I think Rohan
Pasca, kamu bisa translate nggak? Susah.
Oh ya, sorry. So, apa? Atau kakak yang mau ngomong?
Enggak, tadi pertanyaannya ini sih, ini related sama Bali Creative House tuh hubungannya sama seni atau enggak? Gitu.
Like, does Bali Creative House have like relation to arts? Karena, do we have relation to arts?
Such a huge relation. Let me show you the logo. This is the logo.
I know.
Oh shit, I should have wear that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and I think good question, but this is a long answer also, and it goes back to it goes back to how Bali Creative House started and what the mission of Bali Creative House really is. Like, what is the core mission of ours, right? And the biggest thing that we started off with, if Pasca, you remember, is that Bali Creative House is not just a branding agency, but it is that. And so Apple, right? Apple does its own branding, obviously, but behind a lot of things that Apple or Nike does, there's a branding agency.
Yes.
That really helps show off these brands. And one of our biggest this has been to make sure to allow these brands, like these tech brands or these product brands, to focus on what they are good at. And we want to help them present themselves the best way to do what we are good at. So they don't need to worry about branding and visual representation of them on these media channels and whatnot. So that's one thing, that's branding. The other big thing that Bali Creative House hasn't started focusing on yet, but really intends to focus on is working with the people, starting with Bali and then expanding to Indonesia, but working with the people from the creative people of Indonesia who are very good at their art, very good at maybe creating really beautiful paintings.
Yes.
Very good at maybe creating very good, what do you call it, Pascal? Those artifacts, or very good at designs and whatnot, but they don't get to experience the value of their art on an international platform. Like there have been many instances wherein we heard that there's this painter from Ubud who sells his painting for maybe paling 300,000, but his same painting yang itu gets sold in the Western countries for maybe millions of dollars, you know.
Yes.
For thousands of dollars. And this is something that we want to reduce. We want to bring these really great artists on the world's platform, wherein they can actually show off focus on their creativity, show off what they really do the best, but never worry about money. Yes. And we don't want to take anything from them. And, you know, they take the whole cut of it. They sell their painting. So instead of selling their painting for 300,000, they sell their painting for $30,000 gitu. So they make a lot for themselves and they live nicely and not worry about the whole money cycle. And this also gets down to the kind of vendors we use or our partners. We like to call it partners, wherein if let's say a hypothetical example, Bali Creative House doesn't have a graphic design team.
Yes.
So we might need to look for a freelancer who does design, right? Yeah. And this is something that we have personally experienced, wherein these agencies from outside, they try to look for talent within Indonesia, but they pay them so cheap, like so bad. They pay them so less. They pay them like, let's say, $100 for a pitch deck, and they sell the same pitch deck to their clients in the West for maybe $1,500.
Yeah,
that's the gap that we also want to reduce. Wherein
modern slavery,
modern slavery, if you'd like to call that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wherein we want to identify really great graphic designers, really great video editors, really great artists. Now, content writers also an art, right? People who are talented, people who want to do stuff, but they are not valued equally on the world's platform, wherein they're just valued, oh, okay, you're from Asia, you deserve to get only this much, you know?
Yes.
So we want to reduce that gap also. And we want to, this is something that we really believe in is fair pay. And we have the contacts, we have the ability to go out there and be able to source clients from external, from different countries. So we want to bring those clients and we want to connect these creators, these service providers, but make sure that they're rewarded fairly. So if they do a pitch deck which is worth $1,500, they get at least $1,400. You know, they get paid fairly. So yes. A graphic designer from Indonesia who does really great job, like superb job, he doesn't get paid like 2 million a month. If he deserves to get 15 million or maybe whatever that money, I don't know, whatever that money would be, he deserves to get that. So this is something that we have first-hand experienced, and we don't want other people of our age to experience. So this is something that our core focus is on, to make sure that creative people, artists, focus on what they are good at. They don't focus on money because that's where is the kind of imbalance, right? When you're a creator, you don't think like so much in a business perspective. You're like, you know, I just love making the designs.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you get paid in a very negative, not the best way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially with the rise of NFTs, right? I mean, like with your agency, you make NFT artists or not? Just because the NFTs is like hype nowadays, right?
That's the community that we're creating. We're actually slowly trying to help budding artists, but we're not directly involved because Bali Creative House is a branding agency, right? Which is really involved with working with projects right now. So our main focus is on a revenue arm, doing branding and marketing for product companies, for tech companies, and a lot of influence comes in blockchain companies as well because of our contacts and because of our experience with blockchain companies. So we have a lot of clients which are blockchain clients. But on a more individual perspective, right? And this is something that we've been working on very recently. That's not our core focus, is to identify these NFT artists. And we've come across quite a few. I forgot the name of that guy, really sweet guy, Pasta, who was scammed recently. And because we understand NFT so well, right? We understand how blockchain works in and out. We understand what NFT is, how you do those things, because we've been working with projects. We're trying to identify how can we lift these people up and help them come on this platform without benefiting in any way. We don't want to take their art and put it on OpenSea and then sell it. Give them like and then sell it for like that's not saying or that is even absolutely not us, but we're more towards education and literacy, blockchain literacy. How can we help someone use these tools in order to grow themselves and not be dependent on these other agencies and whatnot? Because blockchain is about removing the middleman, not adding more middlemen. It's a peer-to-peer technology. It's about you and me connecting, you and me doing a trade without involving a third-party organization.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the point of it. Mungkin Kak Pasca mau nambahin? Ada?
Please, Pasca.
No,
ngomong dari tadi ya.
Iya.
Betul. No, aku agree with Rohan sih. Kayak living in Bali, we seen a lot of these things. Also, kebanyakan temen aku juga seniman semua. Dan mereka juga sering tanya-tanya kan soal NFT ini tuh. Dan I see a lot of interest in NFT ini. Dan yeah, like Rohan said, I think BlockDB blockchain education is not just limited into the blockchain. Blockchain technology is a lot of things, right? And NFT is one of it. So we do create like this initiative to make like a community in Telegram, but it hasn't been taken care of yet.
Yeah. Wait. Sorry. Wait. Aduh, internet. Halo, tes. Can you hear me?
Because
lanjut Kak.
Oke. Ya, jadi seperti apa tadi? Aku ulang nggak sih nih? Atau?
Enggak, yang tadi kan udah ada yang sebelumnya. Jadi ya tinggal lanjutin yang Kakak keputus tadi.
Ya, tadi ngomongin lagi yang tadi itu, jadi kita ada bikin kayak inisiatif gitu, komunitas di Telegram soal NFT, namanya seperti yang ada di chat tuh, Bali NFT Geeks. Ini tuh masih belum well maintained, tapi rencananya di kedepannya kita bakalan aktif. Ini juga lebih ke community driven Telegram group juga, jadi siapapun bisa tanya jawab, siapapun bisa discuss, siapapun bisa share informasi, jadi bener-bener open gitu sih. Jadi gitu, kalau misalnya kita cuma menyediakan, tapi enggak.
Actually to add to it, sebenarnya fokusnya kita sekarang kayaknya kita lagi fokus on a different project gitu, and we are working with that project kayak full time banget sampai we don't have time to focus on other things. But kayak BlockDB itu kan, BlockDB was an educational initiative, but kita belum bisa lanjut gitu sih, kita belum bisa kerjain untuk BlockDB setiap hari. it's getting so packed karena kan blockchain, crypto ini lagi booming sekarang. And kerjanya kita bukan trading, kita benar-benar kerja sama protokol, blockchain protokol yang layer 1, kayak Ethereum. Kita lagi bikin smart contract, kita lagi growing the community of that one project yang gitu sih. So that's taking a lot of our time. But we started off with creating this small NFT community, very small. The focus is not to grow it. The focus is not to do anything much with it, but just to help people people as much as we can. And kan kalau kan ada Telegram group ini kan gampang untuk everyone to connect with us, to ask questions to us. Soalnya kalau ada yang DM aku nggak pernah balas. Soalnya so many people DM me, So makanya ada grup yang ini. So kalau ada pertanyaan di sana, ya aku langsung balas kok.
Ya, benar. Ya, apalagi kayak bull market kayak gini kan. Jadi yang scammer tuh banyak sih. Makanya aku juga mungkin kakak kemarin tuh yang aku DM tuh ini kan agak skeptis dulu kan, makanya aku kayak di komen aku ini baru kakak follow up kayak gitu ya. Ya mungkin kayak gitu.
Sorry for that. Tapi sebenarnya aku udah notice Kak Iman loh.
Oh ya.
Kalau nggak salah dulu pernah lihat di blockchain LinkedIn gitu.
Oke. Ya kak, pernah juga gimana kak?
Oke, pertanyaan selanjutnya atau yang tadi lagi?
Ya pertanyaan selanjutnya aja ya. Tadi ya itu intinya tentang BlockDB dan ini ya yang project yang di NFTs sama kerja sama Kak Pandu juga di Blue Network kayak gitu ya. Intinya ya pengen mensejahterakan seniman-seniman yang ada di Bali kayak gitu ya.
Nggak cuma Bali aja sih, di seluruh Indonesia juga. Dan
di seluruh
ya nggak harus Bali doang, cuma kebetulan karena kita tinggal di Bali, yang yang kita tahu juga kebanyakan itu di Bali terjadi. Tapi not limited to just Bali gitu.
Yeah, and just to add to it, Bali Creative House has 3 main segments. One is branding agency, and we help other projects do branding. We help other projects do a lot of marketing activities. We help with a little bit of software development as well. The second main objective is, so in this branding, right? In this branding, one very important thing that we focus on is take these really good artists from Indonesia and show them out to the world, help them use their talent to get clients from the world. So help them deal with or talk to or negotiate with clients, which is something that we directly do. So recently when we had a few video projects or a few graphic design projects, we found people from Jogja who could be just like our partners. They received more than what we could receive and they were very happy. Like quotationnya, example banget ya, quotationnya mereka 500.000, yes. Tapi kita minta contoh ya, kita minta 4 juta dari klien, kita kasih 3.500.000 ke mereka, kaget semua kayak, oh kok bisa, like ekspektasi gue paling 500.000, tapi aku bisa dapat segini juga ya gitu. So that's one thing. The other thing is, like we were saying, finding artists who do real stuff like physical art or making flutes or so many other things, right? And showing them off to the world that, there's this creator from Bali. This is his story. His great grandfather started making paintings like this, and he is continuing his family's tradition, and he's still painting. Walaupun dia belum terkenal, walaupun nggak ada banyak orang yang tahu dia siapa atau dia jual painting kayak gini gitu. Soalnya kan ada banyak kampung gitu kan, so nggak ada banyak bule yang explore so much. So we want to take their art and bring it to the world and make sure that they make fair amount as well. And the third very important aspect is giving back.
Okay.
Giving back to the society, giving back to Indonesia, and that's very important for us as well, in form of charity. Now, this is just my and Pasca's personal belief. Maybe it might sound very wrong, that we believe that these big charity organizations that are there, they are money-making charity organizations. So if you give $2 million to this big charity organization, in realitas, very little money will go to the people, because most of the money will be taken in bureaucratic processes and by people who work in the organization, and that's something that we hate. We don't like it. Yes. So that's why we create our own charity activities, and we do charity in small forms, but we keep doing it. Like one of our co-founders, it's his dream, because he's an artist. Okay, he creates illustrations on using computers, like graphic designing stuff and a lot of those things, animations, GIFs and whatnot. He's very talented. Trust me, man, he's super talented. We love him a lot. His dream is to find people like this starting from Indonesia who don't have the right tools to do what they want to love to do. Soalnya ada banyak orang anak-anak di seluruh Indonesia yang pengen graphic design tapi nggak punya komputer.
Yes.
And dia masih coba graphic design tapi pakai HP, pakai using Canva di HP. And kita tahu ada, even ke warnet. So we want to buy devices and give to them, or we want to share our expertise with people who are talented, who want to do things but don't have the resources to do things. Because this is something that all of us, Pascal, me, Isaac, everyone have faced. Like, we started off our life or our journey without having access to a lot of things, but we worked hard and we know the struggle, and we were like, if only I had a computer when aku masih 16, or if only I had $100 when I was masih 16, cuma $100 gitu. But I never had that. But if I had that, I might have done so many things. So we want to try to make those dreams fulfill. Oh, so those are the three big arms of Bali Creative House.
Oh ya, berarti menurut kakak ini kita persepsi kakak aja ya, maksudnya perkembangan kripto atau NFTs di Bali itu kayak gimana? Soalnya tadi kan banyak seninya kan di Bali Creative House kayak gitu.
Kayaknya aku di-cut lagi sih.
Halo? Tes. Kak Pasca kayaknya macet. Ya, jadi tadi gimana Kak, sempat keputus tadi soal perkembangan NFTs dan kripto di Bali kayak gitu.
Kamu mau jawab, Pasca?
Di Bali atau di Indonesia nih?
Ya, bisa di Bali dulu, habis itu di Indonesia, ya terserah Kak, up to you.
Semuanya sebenarnya berkesinambungan sih. Kalau yang aku tahu di Bali emang banyak sekali crypto nomads. Kurang begitu ngerti. Kalau yang dari luar itu banyak. Cuman kalau project-project Indonesia sendiri aku kurang begitu tahu. Cuman menurut aku di Bali banyak sekali sih crypto nomads. Entah mereka trader, entah mereka influencer kripto. Terus komunitas juga di Bali banyak sih, cukup banyak di Bali ya. Seperti NFT community ada, terus lalu Bitcoin community, ada Bitcoin maksimalis gitu, terus ada community banyak sih sebenarnya di Bali ini. Ya banyak ya. Dulu kalau di Binzu sekitar tahun 2018 itu kayak masih asing gitu loh sebenarnya, kayak belum banyak yang dengar soal
Nggak ada
blockchain gitu.
apapun. Kamu
Iya,
ingat gak, like waktu di
ingat.
blockchain itu kan aku R&D manager gitu. So aku yang host semua meetup setiap Tuesday dari jam 5 sampai jam 6 kita ada meetup. Nggak pernah ada yang ikut. Jarang,
Iya.
paling 2 orang gitu.
Ya.
Iya.
Waktu itu nggak pernah ada.
Yeah.
And now it's growing big, like aku tahu juga komunitas di kota metropolitan di Jakarta juga ada sih. Tapi banyak sekali, kayak hampir seminggu ada aja kayak workshop Bitcoin Talk, atau ada aja kayak atau workshop atau sekedar seminar atau apa aja yang discuss soal crypto atau Bitcoin atau banyak sih, banyak di Bali.
Ya. Kalau kakak tahu si Mbak Dea yang kelas Bitcoin tuh dia di Bali tuh.
Ya, sebenarnya kita dekat banget sama dia sih.
Oh, pantesan dia. Oh, iya. Tapi dekat juga ya. Maksudnya kalau dia kan sering buka kelas kan di sana. Maksudnya sering ketemu atau apa kayak gitu ya sama Mbak Dea ya.
Iya.
Oh, iya.
Iya, dulu gimana Rohan, kamu ngomong nggak?
Kamu aja sih.
Oke.
Dulu
Jadi,
kita sering ketemu di meetup sih.
Iya.
Oh, oke.
Kita sering ikut meetup gitu juga, seperti dulu itu pernah ketemu itu di salah satu seminar talknya dia juga tahun lalu ya, Rohan.
Iya, kayaknya itu
masih baru
pertama kali.
Iya, masih kayak pembicaranya dia kayak baru pertama kali bicara di sebagai Bitcoin Talk. Terus ya dia ini itu terus ya dia Bitcoin maksimalis sih. Jadi ya kan, not into menurut aku kurang ngerti soal kripto gitu, tapi kalau soal Bitcoin like she's the one.
Ya, benar. Ya, kalau di kripto dia ada culture-nya. Jadi ya nggak melulu soal seni aja yang ada culture ya. Maksudnya di kripto tuh ada yang Bitcoin maksimalis lah, Ethereum maksimalis lah, banyak lah. Jadi udah ini sih. Tapi maksimalis itu bukan tanpa dasar juga. Maksudnya memang ada lah, panjang lah ceritanya. Maksudnya itu emang dari ini kan, decentralized atau kayak gitu. Jadi aku ya bisa ngerti sih, apalagi sampai di Bali kayak gitu ya, perkembangan industri kriptonya kayak gitu ya.
Besar sih.
Actually, sebenarnya kripto itu kayak religion banget sih. Ada yang kayak Bitcoin is the best, nothing better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is blockchain gitu. Walaupun sekarang menurut the real technology ya, Bitcoin sebenarnya centralized. Paling ada 4 node yang validate blocks untuk Bitcoin. And you need to have a computer yang mahal banget to validate blocks on Bitcoin. Itu udah nggak bisa decentralized gitu. And then there are people yang believe in Ethereum. There's nothing better than Ethereum. Ethereum is the world gitu. And then these two people fight a lot with each other. And then now there are new religions following up like Polkadot is the best. Cardano is the best. Oh, kamu nggak suka Cardano, kamu nggak ngerti Bitcoin, kamu nggak ngerti crypto, you're nothing about crypto gitu sih. Like there are so many people who are making this technology which is supposed to be more accepting to new things, new innovations, new people are trying to make it like a religion. If this is the best, then this is the only thing. I don't want to look at any other thing. Every other thing apart from that is not blockchain gitu.
Yeah.
So this is something that we've really experienced a lot in and this is something that's now coming in Indonesia also, but it's a lot. When you go in the communities, it's so much. It gets crazy. It gets crazy.
Ya sih. Mungkin ya banyak belajar dari 2017 juga sih. Maksudnya ya banyak yang project abal-abal kayak gitu kan, tapi projectnya omong kosong kayak gitu. Jadi ya ada ini sih winner takes all sih kalau misal namanya market kayak free market kayak gitu ya.
Yeah, and aku ada salah satu experience tahun 2017 ya. Waktu itu aku main Reddit a lot. And waktu itu aku baru mulai belajar consensus algorithm semua POA, POC, DPoS, POS, proof of work, semua. And waktu itu kan in Reddit, aku masih ingat in Reddit and Facebook, I started bahas not kayak fight, cuma pengen mulai discussion tentang proof of work versus proof of stake. And menurut aku, kenapa proof of work good, kenapa proof of work bad, kenapa proof of stake good, and kenapa proof of stake bad. And proof of stake was a little more nicer, this and that. Oh shit, di Reddit aku dapat 100 downvote gitu. Ada banyak orang yang kayak like abuse me. People started abusing me. No, proof of work is shit. Proof of stake is shit. Proof of work is only the thing. Proof of work stake is not blockchain. Di Facebook pun aku di kick out dari banyak grup. And I was like, oh shit, aku salah ngomong apa sih? Aku cuma pengen mulai discussion. Cuma pengen belajar, cuma pengen tahu opininya orang, tapi langsung di blog, langsung di
ngerti.
abusing itu. And now everyone is talking proof of stake. All blockchains are going proof of stake, and now everyone's like, no, proof of stake is the best. Nothing better than proof of stake. And I'm like, gitu sih.
I understand ya. Itu tribalism lah. Jadi banyak ya di kripto kayak gitu ya, masih kejadian kayak gitu. Soalnya kita masih belum ngerti ini teknologinya mau dibawa kemana gitu.
Iya.
Si Kak Pasca ini tadi kemarin nih masih belum.
I'm here.
Oke. Ya, fokus sih. Ya mungkin ini udah sejam juga, maksudnya ya mungkin sebelum penutup ini, maksudnya ini ya non financial advice lah, maksudnya menurut Kakak di sini Bitcoin udah, maksudnya kripto udah selesai bull marketnya atau masih bisa terbang lagi, maksudnya masih bull market masih lanjut atau enggak?
Prediksinya untuk 1 bulan lagi atau 3 bulan lagi atau 6 bulan lagi apa tahun?
Iya, 1 year ya, sampai tahun depan lah.
Ya udah, aku coba semua ya.
Iya,
semoga aku benar. 1 month, within this month, I believe, and ini personal belief banget, Bitcoin will touch its all-time high. By the next year, Bitcoin will, semua crypto will drop down, kayak 2017, 2018 will drop, and then stabilize lagi, and then start going up for the next Bitcoin halving. So that's what my prediction is, that by the end of the month, crypto will touch all-time high, tapi habis itu pasti jatuh. And then, tapi I think kalau jatuh paling sampai 30 atau 40 paling, and then tapi keep at that level, and then naik lagi after 2 years, I guess.
Yes.
That's my personal opinion.
Ya, exactly. Ya, maksudnya non financial advice lah. Maksudnya ini cuma fun ini aja. Maksudnya fun question. Yeah. Kalau Kak Pascal sendiri nggak ada ya? Sama ya, palingnya, sama persis.
Kalau soal apa itu
aku prediction nggak bisa. Iya, ngerti.
Technical prediction atau belum terlalu paham. So ya.
I think Pasca kayak orang yang lebih ke teknologi gitu ya. Soalnya dia she's the Indonesia lead of one of the top cryptocurrency companies, one of the top blockchains. And I think sampai sekarang she's done a very great job. She's been able to make a community of berapa? 6,000 people kan? You've made a community of hampir berapa?
Half of that.
No, semua, including Twitter, including Telegram gitu.
Oh yeah, more than 5,000.
Yeah. And because of her, the coin that she's working on, trading volume-nya setiap hari di Nerdax minimal $300,000.
Yeah.
Minimal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
exactly. But I think she's very focused on the tech side. I think on the content side.
Ya, jadi ya mungkin that's it for today. Ya maksudnya ya sorry ya tadi aku ada error kan kalau misalnya koneksinya nggak stabil kayak gitu. Jadi mungkin ntar videonya bakal aku compile kayak gitu. Ntar baru kirim lagi kalau misalnya udah ada. Ya thank you.
Oh ya. Thank you so much. Actually kita juga nggak ini kayaknya pertama kali buat kita juga sih. Kita juga nggak kayak so prepared atau makanya maybe so many of our answers kurang perfect menurut aku. So I think kita sama-sama belajar sih. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come and speak and spread our knowledge on blockchain. So thanks a lot for that.
Terima kasih banyak Kak Iman.
Iya. Ntar guys, aku bakal share di link deskripsi ya mengenai BlockDB ini. Ntar kalau apa-apa, ya udah leave a like and subscribe to our channel.